Aloha and welcome to Inside Hawaii Real Estate. I'm Will Tanaka with my co host, business partner, and wife, Leonie Lam.
Thanks, Will. Together as full time realtors, we're bringing you the latest in Hawaii real estate. And so, for anyone who's buying, selling, or even renting a home, you could become a target for cyber criminals. And real estate deals involve huge amounts of money, sensitive data, and multiple parties. So, everything from wire fraud all the way to phishing scams, identity theft, everything's on the rise right now. And so, there is good news though. You don't have to face these things alone. Let's break down the risks together and understand them so you know how to protect yourself.
And no one knows better than our special guest, Don Mangiarelli. So, Don, welcome.
Thank you very much. Aloha, everyone. Glad to be here.
Super excited to have you. So, Don, is the owner and general manager of Cybersecurity Hawaii. And in fact, he's one of the OGs, original founders of ThinkTech Hawaii with Jay Fidell pre YouTube days. And he has over 25 years of experience in IT and cybersecurity. And he's helped large businesses like Home Depot, Safeway, Costco, CVS Longs, Drugs, Chanel. I mean, you name it, all the large companies. And now he's also helping small businesses like us, small mom and pop shops, real estate brokerages, escrow companies, independent professionals, because hey, we're all prime targets of cyber criminals. So, you know, I don't think anyone really grows up to become a hacker or cyber criminals. But so, I mean, I wanted to kind of start off. Where are these hackers and cyber criminals coming from?
Really, in the past, somebody that was going to be a hacker had to have a lot of computer knowledge and, had to be able to write programs and test them out and really get deep into the hardware and software of a computer. And what you see nowadays, especially since COVID and everybody spread out going from working in an office where the IT department had, one point of entry that they had to defend. Uh, when once we spread out, that became super difficult, and it created a huge opportunity for cyber criminals. And so what we're seeing is drug cartels and mafias and foreign adversarial governments are just dropping billions of dollars into malicious software development. And they're creating companies that are akin to Microsoft and Google that have 24 by 7 support and 6-month money back guarantees for anyone who wants to get involved in cybercrime. And basically, if they don't make their money in the first 6 months, if they don't have a successful cyber attack, they get their money back. So the bar has been lowered uh, in an extraordinary way since COVID. And then, when's the last time you heard of a hacker going to jail? Maybe all the way back to our interview, I think in 2004 or five with Kevin Mitnick. It's been a long, long time since you've heard of a hacker going to jail. And
Yeah.
so, with the risk being infinitesimally small for someone to get caught and the amount of money, this year cybercrime is slated to cost the world $10.5 trillion, dollars, which breaks down to about
Wow.
$20 million a minute. And with that amount of money available, a lot of people are jumping into cybercrime.
That's a lot of money. And then are they like local, mainland US, from foreign countries?
That's a great question, Will. If you were reading the news, you would think that all the hackers live in Russia and China and North Korea and Iran, and those are the countries that we have to worry about. But really, the attacks that are coming from those countries are aimed more at governments and our critical infrastructure. And so
Mm.
small businesses are not as much worried about that. But there are hackers right here on Oahu that are breaking into systems on a daily basis. Generally gang members. Um, the Bloods and the Crips on the mainland, for instance, are heavily into cybercrime. So yeah,
Interesting.
we have to be worried that I have a client who suffered an identity theft where they broke into his email, got his bank account information and his T-Mobile administrator information. They were able to SIM swap his phone, which is a big fancy tech word for transferring his phone number to a phone that the criminals uh, owned. And so every time he tried to log into his bank account, the codes that got sent to his phone from the bank to log in got sent to the hackers, and because they had his username and password, they were able to get into his bank account. And Department of Homeland Security determined that the attackers were in YPO right here on Oahu.
That's crazy. I mean, how does someone when something like that happens, to like your client, I mean, how does someone recover from that?
It's a long process, and hopefully they have cyber insurance. Um, which is kind of a catch-22 in itself. You know, most business owners get insurance and uh, they don't nobody reads the fine print in the insurance policy. Their insurance agent says, "Here's what you need," and you sign on the dotted line, much like your car insurance or your home insurance. Okay, I need it, so I'm just going to sign here and pay the monthly bill. And you think that you have 1 million or 2 million or $3 million in coverage. The problem is that over the last several years, insurance companies have shelled out a whole lot of money. I'm sure that you've read some stories in the news about, 50 and $100 million ransoms that were paid. And those were paid by insurance companies to businesses. And so because they've had to pay these ginormous ransom fees, they've tightened up their policies and they now require the businesses to have reasonable security measures in place. And so when you're attacked and you contact the insurance company, they send out a they send out a, forensics team to investigate. And
Mm,
because the forensics team works for the insurance company, they're going to be looking for any way that you have anything or that you don't have anything that's listed in the policy as required, more what we call compliance with the insurance policy. That you if you don't have anything on your network, or maybe you're missing one or two, they can deny portions of the claim or they can deny the whole claim. So
mhm.
you may suffer a cyber attack thinking, oh, I have $1 million in cyber insurance, but your cyber insurance is denied because you're not taking what they deem reasonable steps to protect your business from a cybersecurity standpoint.
And a
So,
lot of business owners might not even know what those steps are or really, like you're saying, I mean,
Right.
able to interpret that. So it's like you have to go through your policy with the fine tooth comb, but you also have to know how to interpret it. And so if it's not your area of expertise, then it might be good to consult with someone that does can help you through that.
Right. So that's actually one of the services that we offer is an analysis of your policy. And we go through your policy with a fine tooth comb and tell you what your policy covers, what the exclusions are or what it doesn't cover. And then there are also things in your policy called sublimits. So you might have $1 million policy, but it might have a $250 $1,000 sublimit on something like phishing. So if you get
mm,
hit with a phishing attack, they're only going to cover you up to $250,000 when you may have thought you had $1 million in coverage. And then the last part of our analysis tells you what the insurance company requires on your part to be compliant with the policy and make sure that it pays out. And a surprising statistic is that 61% of cyber insurance policies over the last couple of years um, have been denied. The claims have been denied because
61%.
businesses, yeah, 61%, because businesses thought that they had the coverage in place, and they didn't read through the policy and know what it covered and what it didn't cover and what the requirements were when they went to file a claim because they had been hacked. The insurance company denied the claim. So it's really important to know what's in your insurance policy.
and that's great to know that you actually help businesses and small businesses like us to really assess and analyze not just the insurance, but probably the whole system that
Right.
we use every single day. And before I definitely want to get into that a little bit more. And there's often a lot of people use, for personal, we use Gmail. Some people use Yahoo. For business, we use, Microsoft 365 for that additional security. But oftentimes, how hackers get into your system and how you get your social security, credit card numbers, bank account information. Is a more common way like they send you a link. Once you click on it, it's over.
It really depends. they might send you a phishing email that has a an Adobe PDF in it, for instance,
Okay,
and the
I've seen
P
that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So when you click on the PDF file, then it downloads a program to your computer in the background, and it opens up like a PDF, so you have no idea that in the background something's installing. And some of those you might see coming across as, "Hey, here's an invoice that you didn't pay," and in 2019, 2020, you had a lot of Russians uh, that were phishing folks. So the English in the emails was very rough, to say the
Mm,
least,
Mhm.
right? And now that we have AI, it enables somebody who doesn't speak English as their native language to be able to put something into AI and have it translate into pure, perfect English.
Mhm.
And so it's much harder to tell now when a phishing email is coming in, and people just have to be really vigilant. Um,
mm,
we, and for instance, in my company and with the clients that we have, we put a banner on our emails that come from external sources, and there's just a banner that says, "Use the utmost in caution when you are clicking links in this email because it came from an external source."
mm,
And now that hackers have evolved and are launching more and more sophisticated attacks, and they're able to get into your email, uh, they can send emails from your system that appear to come from you, and they send them to your contacts, and your contacts will trust those emails because it came from you. And, Will's never sent me a malicious link. So I'm going to click everything Will sends me, and Leonie as well. She's so friendly and so awesome. And, she always sends me helpful information. So it must be something I need to click. Right.
Mhm.
And so we have to be even more vigilant now than we ever have been because of that. If
yeah.
you think about how many hacks have been published, everybody's information is on the dark web at this point.
Mm,
So they're not necessarily breaking into your email or breaking into your networks anymore. They're logging in, and that's scary
ooh,
That is.
because you
that
have
is,
no
yeah.
idea. You could be in your Gmail and somebody could be in there reading all your emails, and you would have no idea. There's no way to tell.
Is there any way to secure like your Yahoo or your Gmail or to make it safer because from what I understand those platforms are commonly used but they're the most vulnerable. Is there anything that can be done or not?
From the standpoint of security, Gmail and Yahoo and Outlook.com and Hotmail, and God forbid if you're still using AOL or Pixie, Pixie.com, right? Back from the old days. Because they're free email services, those companies are not putting very much security on those
Mm,
emails, right?
Mhm.
On your Google Drive, because it's a free service. You're not paying for that, so they're not spending that much money to protect it. Now, are there ways to protect it? There are ways to help secure it, but
Mhm.
really, no, there's not ways to protect it because you don't have access to the log files. So there's no way for you to track what's going on behind the scenes. Um, there's no security companies that are offering software. There's really not an API for Google, for Gmail or Yahoo that a security company could attach their software to protect it. So from a protection standpoint, no, not really. You can put multi-factor authentication on your Google account, on your
mm.
Gmail account, or your Google account in general, and that is a good way. That's a good step to help so people are not breaking into your account. But there are other ways to break in. And so um, it's kind of six of one, half a dozen another. If you're a commercial business and you're still running on Gmail or Yahoo, you are putting yourself at extreme risk of being hacked. There's no way for a business to track anything that's going on in their email system from using a free email account. The only way to do that is by using something that's a commercial account that has the security measures on the back end.
So for professionals who are still using Gmail or Yahoo or AOL, Pixie, is Microsoft Outlook, is that the only option? Is that the most secure option? Because I think everyone, we use the commercial account. Is that the most secure, or are there other options?
So if you're using Microsoft products, right? So if you're using
Yeah.
Microsoft Business Premium, for instance, Outlook is definitely the way to go because it's owned by Microsoft and Microsoft owns the source code to both of those. So they're going to
Mm,
have access to hooks that other email services will not have access to because
okay.
they own the operating systems basically. Um,
Got it. Got it. Okay.
so from that standpoint, yes, Outlook is your best bet. From a safety standpoint, Outlook is not where the safety features are stored, right?
Mm.
The safety features are in the back end of Microsoft Business Premium, and we go in and turn those features on and make sure that your email accounts, your document sharing is all secured down. Your documents are encrypted where they're stored. So even if they were lifted out of there, somebody wouldn't be able to read what's in there, right?
I
And
see.
and so those are the types of things that really help to lock down your account from hackers.
Mm,
That's super good to know. And kind of going back to when we're first starting our discussion, and you're talking about COVID and how there's all these points of entry when everyone started to work from home or work in different, locations, and it wasn't just like the like in the office anymore. And so there's more risk. And so everyone at home, like we do, we have a router, and that's how we get our Wi-Fi connection. Can you talk through some of the challenges or the risks through routers at home?
Sure. If you're running a business, really, you need a commercial grade router to head up your network. You need a commercial grade router that has a firewall, it has intrusion detection system in it, an intrusion prevention system. And a lot of the routers that are out there today, the softwares are integrated with AI. And so what's great about AI is super fantastic at recognizing patterns. So
mm.
it learns what normal patterns are for your usage. And when it sees something outside of that, it blocks it. That's how a commercial router keeps you safe. Now, the router that you get from Spectrum or Hawaiian Telcom doesn't have any of those features in it. It's just a router that doesn't necessarily, well, it's there to segment your home network off from the internet. But that doesn't equal safety or security. It just equals that you have a private network, and that private network can still be accessed. Um, Everybody's aware that you don't go in and conduct banking transactions when you're using the free Wi-Fi at Starbucks, right? Everybody knows, okay, that's not a good idea because you never know who's in there monitoring the traffic. But not everybody knows that on your home network, it's also very easy to become compromised. Now, a lot of people have kids, or maybe we're all kids at heart and we have gaming systems at home. And being as competitive Americans as we are, we always want to win. And so we look for the easy ways to be able to win. Like they create these mods, these game mods online, and you can download the game mod. And if you follow certain steps, you can get to maybe 3 or 4 levels past where you're at, right? And everybody
Mm.
wants to be at a higher level because, once you're at the expert level and you're doing all this expert stuff, you have bragging rights with all your friends. Um, but what people don't know is that those gaming mods are becoming among the most highly corrupted softwares that are on the internet, and they're filled with malware. And when you download those things and put them on your PS5 or your Xbox or your Nintendo, um, now whatever is on your network can become compromised from that. It creates what we all know what backdoors are. It creates a backdoor into your home network. And so hackers are can come in and attack your if you're working at home on your computer, for instance, and you're accessing your company's online database, maybe it's a CRM or maybe it's an MLS application. They have access to whatever you have access to.
Wow.
And so it becomes really necessary to be able to have something commercial there. There are several products out there that we utilize with our clients to help protect them from those types of things.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
And yeah, and sometimes I mean, we in terms of our kids, sometimes we have no idea what they're playing these days. So I think getting a cyber secure router and just really, maybe paying attention a little bit more to see what they're actually playing these days is a really good reminder.
Absolutely. And the other thing we think about, and we're talking specifically to real estate agents here, is that a large majority of real estate agents work from home. They work from coffee shops. They go to other people's houses and they get on the free Wi-Fi at somebody's house. But you really
Mhm.
have no idea if that network is compromised or not. And prior to COVID, really the only ones you had to really be aware of are free Wi-Fi. You didn't hear a lot about home networks getting hacked. You didn't hear a lot about using a guest Wi-Fi at a business or something along those lines. But now be uh, you have to be aware that everywhere you go, hackers are everywhere. And really, if we think about it, everybody's going to get hacked. It's not a matter of if they're gonna get hacked or not. Everybody will be hacked at some point in time because the attacks are evolving so quickly. Um, and really it's a catch-up game with the software. The AI's gotta be able to recognize what's not a regular pattern and be able to stop it. And I just read an article the other day um, that a hacker has compromised Microsoft's secure installer to bypass all the security checks and install malware on end users. And so when you look at stuff like that, everybody's going to suffer a hack. So now it just becomes a matter of being prepared and making sure that the information that we store is secure and encrypted so that even if it does get stolen, nobody's going to be able to do anything with it. And the other
Mm,
thing we have to make sure is that we're backing our stuff up and that we're not storing our passwords in our browsers so that it's easy access for a hacker, that we're storing it in a password manager,
mm,
right?
That's good.
And or using what we call passwordless login. So I'm not sure if you have seen now where some of the sites that you log into say, hey, do you want to install a Windows Hello passkey or uh,
yeah.
I don't know what it is called on Macs because I don't work with Macs very often, but I'm sure there's an equivalent on the Mac side. But you use Windows Hello to log in, and then it's taking a picture of your face, and it's taking measurements off of your face and matching that up with a previous picture that it took, and verifying that it's you, and then it logs in, and there's no passwords or usernames that go back and forth. And so
Mhm.
that's really kind of where the future is going.
And I guess so cyber criminals, they're getting more and more evolved because technology, and then they're integrating, I guess, AI, right, into
Right.
their own attacks, and they can do like a search on Chat GPT, I think, right? And then just kind of
Um, Chat GPT and some of the other Claude and Perplexity and several of the other commercial versions of LLMs out there
mhm.
have guardrails on them. So if you go to Chat GPT and you say, "Hey, I want to create a malware," it's going to tell you, "I can't do that.
Oh,
I'm not
good.
allowed to do that." Right? But on the dark web, there are several LLMs that don't have any guardrails on them. And you can go in there and say, create me a Python script that goes into a user's computer, uh, looks to see what browser they have, and then issues a decrypt command for their password storage and steals all their usernames and passwords. And
Wow.
that happens a lot. There are also info stealers, so, you might download a free program off the internet to help you be more productive, maybe a PDF reader or something along those lines. Maybe
Mhm.
even something for, CAD drawings, for instance, is a very popular thing where they have free viewers, and a lot of those viewers come with malware that you don't know about, and you do the installation, and it installs an info stealer in the back end. And when you go to a website, it captures the keystrokes that you type in for your username and password.
Wow.
So it's very
Very,
important.
very, yeah.
Yeah, it's very important to have multi-factor authentication turned on any accounts that allow it.
You've been helping a lot of the large businesses like Home Depot and Costco, and you're scaling it down for like mom and pop shops like us. Koi
Absolutely.
Hawaii Realty, our new real estate brokerage. So, in terms of helping out smaller businesses like ours and possibly potentially other realtors and other small businesses. What would that look like if they reach out to you and say, Don, can you help us? I mean, after watching your show, it's like, oh my God, we need help.
We need help.
We want to make sure, we're dealing with millions of dollars, right?
Yeah,
So can you just kind of quickly walk through the process with us?
sure. We actually do have a process, and there are several of the IT shops in town will just say, "Okay, well, what do you need? You tell us what you need, and we'll get it for you."
Mhm.
We don't do that. We come in and we actually take an assessment of your business. It takes about 30 days for the assessment to come back with all the pieces in it. And we identify the security gaps that exist in your particular environment. And then we customize a plan to cover those security gaps. We help you with cyber insurance. I don't sell cyber insurance, but we have a partner who does. So I have to state that from a legal standpoint. I can't sell you cyber insurance, but I know a whole lot about cyber insurance because I've been marred down in it for about the last 3 years, and really trying to understand um, the policy changes that have come about. In the last 3 years, there's been a huge amount of policy changes due to the fact that these companies are paying out huge sums of money for ransomware attacks,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and so keeping up with that has been a major time suck for me. But I think that I've lived here for 32 years. I have lots and lots of friends who have businesses here, and I just see that people are just so unprepared for a cyber attack. And like I said before, it's going to happen to everyone. And the businesses that are prepared will survive. Um, there's a statistic now that's floating around, that's been floating around for several years now, but been finally verified that 60% of small businesses that get attacked close their shop within 6 months because the costs are just so astronomical at this point. The state law here requires you to notify your customers that have been affected by a cyber attack. And you also have to provide them with credit monitoring and a 24/7 call center if they have any questions. And most small businesses can't afford that. And so they go out of business. Whereas if they have cyber insurance, the cyber insurance covers those things. And the cyber insurance company has the 24/7 call center set up already and the credit monitoring. So you're just adding your clients to that versus you having to shoulder that cost as well, plus all the legal costs that happen. Nowadays, if your business gets hacked and you have more than 500 records that are released to the public, you're seeing class action lawsuits, and most small businesses are not going to survive a class action lawsuit. But if you have cyber insurance, they will cover your legal fees for that. So cyber insurance is becoming really not a luxury anymore, but a necessity.
Yeah, I
So
can hear
that's
that.
yeah, that's our first step when we deal with a small business. Our first question is, do you have cyber insurance? And if not, then we can hook you up, and we do.
And even if the answer is yes to that question, like you had talked about from the beginning, you really need to be able to interpret what kind of
Right.
insurance you have and what protocols that you're needing to follow in order to qualify to
Yeah.
get
To
your
make
claim
sure that
approved, right?
yeah,
I mean, any insurance I can kind of see is like that, subject to depending and
it's why we maximize underinsured and non-insured drivers, right, in our policy, our car policy, because we don't know what everybody else is doing.
right.
And so in the same light, we want to make sure that we have proper coverage, which is what our cybersecurity risk assessment does. Basically, we come in, we assess all your gaps, and it gives you an estimate. If you were hit today, this is an estimate of how much a cyber attack would cost you. And you can utilize that number then to be able to go get enough coverage to make sure that you're not going to go out of business. Used to
You're
be,
amazing. Yeah.
thank you. I was going to say, it used to be um, people would get attacked and then they wouldn't say anything and then they just restore the data from their backup onto their computer. But the problem with doing that nowadays is when you do that restore, a lot of times, even if we root out the attackers and their software, when you restore your data back to that computer and restore the state back to that computer, um, you're restoring the back door back on there and you're opening yourself to be hacked again.
This is like so much awesome information, Don. It's like everyone should be reaching out to you. Don
Oh,
Mangiarelli, the owner of Cybersecurity Hawaii. This was eye opening, and yeah, we'll definitely be talking very soon.
thank you. That sounds great. If anybody wants to find me, and they're not sure where, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
and Don is super responsive.
Yeah. I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
well, thank you so much, Don.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Hello.